Hi everybody, my name is Joy, and if you read the title of this video, this is just gonna be me talking about my OCD and anxiety experience. Hopefully this video can serve as a little bit of reassurance and comfort knowing that there's people out there who have been through what you've been through, and that you can get better, and it is a possibility. Because I know when I was going through the thick of it, I felt very, very alone. I had a really hard time connecting with other people, and it felt like I was experiencing things that nobody else in my circle could relate to. And a lot of the things I was experiencing, I didn't even know were normal or had a name. Sorry, I feel like my nose looks crazy. But anyways, yeah, so I'm just going to be telling you chronologically kind of what I went through, and then things I tried and what worked for me. So hopefully that's something that can help out other people dealing with similar things. So I've got my notebook. I wrote down a little bit of a recap on the things I was struggling with, just so I have it all together. But to start off, my childhood was pretty anxiety filled for me. Unfortunately, I don't really remember a time where I wasn't dealing with anxiety as a child. And not to say that I had a horrible childhood, everything was okay for the most part. But it just felt like something I was born with. I had always felt a little depressed and a little anxious. When I got diagnosed with both those things at age 13, it wasn't really a shock. It was kind of a thing I had always expected to happen. But my anxiety, there was a lot of counting in my anxiety. I would count down 10 days. I won't go into the specifics of why, but I would count down every 10 days, and I would be very anxious as those 10 days got closer to 5 and then got closer to 3. And that was a big thing for my mom, because I was always asking her, because I was too little to count. So I'd ask her every day, how many more days? 9 more days? Okay, how many more days? And that was a ritual that I had performed just over and over and over again, up until I think I was 13. And that was very stress inducing for me. At the 10th day, I always felt my best. And then once the days went down, as they went down, I would get more anxious. So that was probably my biggest thing, but I also have dealt with a lot of guilt my whole life, which I have learned is quite common for people with OCD. I'm just chronically guilty. I still am. That's something I'm getting better at. I'm very much a people pleaser, and that has harmed me my whole life. I was very chronically guilty. I felt as if I was a bad person, and I was bad to my family, I was bad to my friends, I was bad to my school. I just felt very guilty for taking up space. And that was something I struggled with, and I wasn't sure how to work through that. And I didn't really tell anybody that. I'm sure it could have been inferred, and actually it was inferred by my teachers had mentioned it to my parents. I also had a compulsion for when I was stressed. I would take the hair at the back of my head right here, and I would twist it with my fingers, and then I would pull it out. And I had little bald patches on the back of my head, underneath my hair, luckily. So it was never noticeable, but that's something my teachers had brought up to my family. Joy is getting really stressed, and she's pulling out her hair. I also had some struggle with food growing up. I really did not like to eat. It wasn't a body image thing because I was quite young. I'm thinking grade 1 right now. Got my Tim Hortons, I'm Canadian. So I didn't eat very much. I was very picky with what I ate. And that was also a big stressor for me. I'm not sure if that's really necessarily related, but it's a big part of when I think of my childhood, is food was a big stressor for me. I also have always dealt with dissociation and intrusive thoughts. My intrusive thoughts have been around my whole life, and in a way that almost helped me, because I wasn't as shocked by them when I had a really bad one. I know a lot of people who deal with intrusive thoughts it would still happen. Like, I'd get an intrusive thought that was like violent or sexual, and I didn't like it. And every now and then it would really freak me out because I'm like, oh my gosh, why did that pop into my head? But because I had dealt with it for so much of my life, like, I was like, well, I know those aren't things I want to do. Like, I know those are just thoughts. And I was also in therapy at a young age too, so that probably helped. Like, my therapist would always tell me, like, your thoughts are just thoughts. They're not you, and they come and they go, and you just have to accept it and feel it and then let it pass on instead of focusing so hard. But, you know, easier said than done. And my dissociation, yeah, that, and I don't mean multiple personality disorder. Sorry, I know there's a different name for it now. It wasn't that. So hopefully I'm not like using the wrong word here, but my therapist called it dissociation, so I feel comfortable saying that. But yeah, just feeling like out of my body when I would get too anxious, and it was a protective measure to protect myself from all this anxiety that my body felt like it couldn't handle. It was getting out of control. So I would dissociate, and I would take like a back step in my brain, and it just felt like I was in a bubble. Like, I remember writing in my journal about it when I was little, like probably like 9 or 10. Like, I was just in a bubble. Everything around me is like fuzzy, and I'm safe in the cocoon that is, you know, deep inside myself. I was just hiding inside myself. And dissociation, I still struggle with that, less so now, but it is almost a blessing in disguise because, like I said, it does help to reframe. Like, it's scary when it happens, and it's scary when you don't know what's going on, but like, it's your brain trying to protect you. Like, that's you showing yourself love in a biological way. Like, your brain is trying to keep you safe and protect you by saying too much is going on. Like, let's close down a little bit. So framing it in that way, like, instead of my body's attacking me, my brain's attacking me, like, your brain and your body are trying to protect you, but you don't need protection right now. So I actually, sometimes I found dissociation a bit of a relief because it was like a part of my brain had shut down and I could just relax. Yeah, that was that. I also had a lot of thought loops. I guess that's sort of the same as my compulsion with like the counting, but my thought loops actually got worse as I aged. And if you've experienced this, you know what I'm talking about, but just where I would focus on like one thing so hard, and I would loop the same like sentences in my head over and over again, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I was like, I'm done thinking about this. I don't want to think about this anymore. And it'd be something as simple as like once I get home, I have to wash my face, and then I have to do my homework, and then I have to go to bed. Okay, so when I get home, I have to wash my face, and then I have to do my homework, and then I have to go to bed. And then first I have to wash my face, and then I have to do my homework, and then I have to go to bed. And I would just think it over and over and over again. And I think it comes from like sort of, I really like predictability. Because OCD and anxiety, like it's about control. Specifically OCD, it's about control. You feel like you have no control in your life. You want to control every bit as much as you can. And I felt like I had no control. So I would go over these things over and over again to make sure that I guess was aware of what was going on. There was predictability, and predictability made me feel safe. So yeah. Moving on to sort of my teenage years. You know, COVID hit. I was born in 2004. So COVID hit when I was like 15 or 16. And, you know, surprisingly, I actually didn't have like a terrible time with my mental health. Well, that is a lie. I was very depressed in COVID. Everybody was. I never really have had the sort of OCD, like the stereotypical OCD where like you want everything clean and tidy. Like, it was honestly kind of the opposite, specifically in COVID. Like, my room, I lived with my mom at the time, and my room was just honestly a health hazard on its own. Like, I had like moldy food and dishes like all around me. I had garbage in my room. Like, I never did laundry. Like, it was like unsafe living conditions that I did to myself. But yeah, I didn't clean up after myself, and it was too stressful of a thing to like bring dishes upstairs. Like, I felt like there was a mental block in my mind that I couldn't do it. It wasn't time. It was almost like hoarding. I know hoarding is very different, but it was almost like I still have trouble throwing things out sometimes when I'm done with them. Like, I'll put empty like recyclable containers back in the fridge when I'm done with them, just because I'm not ready to throw them out yet. So I've got lots of weird quirks. But yeah, after COVID, when I was probably like 17 or 18 is when I had a flare-up, is what I call my OCD flare-ups, because it wasn't always prevalent. I felt like it was really bad during my childhood, and then things got better, like my life overall. Like, I got a really great boyfriend who I'm still with, like, and I was doing well in school. Like, I was doing okay, and then I had a flare-up. And the one thing was when I got a new job when I was probably like 18, and it was a high-stress job. But I remember getting like very physical symptoms, and I didn't know what was going on. And, you know, I obviously was like, well, I'm anxious for my new job. Like, that's normal. And it is normal. And probably half of that was just normal anxiety because you're worried about going to your new job and like things are stressful. But it was like 3 months in, and I started getting very physical sensations. Like, it was very scary. And I had this for a long time, but my vision would darken, my peripherals would darken, and I would think that I was gonna faint because I was like, oh my gosh, like, what's going on? My heart, I have heart palpitations. Medically, nothing is wrong with me, so it must be just anxiety, but I would have really bad heart palpitations. I would get very shaky physically, and, you know, it was a circle, because if I'm feeling these symptoms and I'm not very anxious, then I get anxious about those symptoms. And then if I'm just feeling anxiety, and then it starts going in my body, like, it's just would loop. And I didn't really know what was going on with my body, and I felt out of control of my body and what was happening to me, and that was really scary. So I would call in sick a lot, because I thought I was sick. Like, I would get nauseous, I would get dizzy, I would get shaky, like, so I would call in sick and I wouldn't come in. And around the same time, and everyone has a different experience with this, but I was on a medication called Wellbutrin. And Wellbutrin, you are my enemy, because I think Wellbutrin sparked like something terrible that was already in me. I already had this OCD and I already had this anxiety, and it like lit a match and made things much worse. Wellbutrin is used for depression and anxiety. I think it's mainly for depression. And I guess at the time I thought I was more depressed than I was anxious. But now that is a lie. I think my anxiety made me depressed. So anyways, being on Wellbutrin, and it might not have been the Wellbutrin, but ever since I had been on that, I started getting those physical symptoms. And I was feeling so much anxiety in my body. And I'm a very visual, very like somatic person. So I would describe it in a very like creative way. Like, I would feel the anxiety in the back of my shoulders, my upper back. I would feel like my muscles would tense up back there, and I would feel like there was like a gaping hole, and it was like, it's behind me, like I can't cover it. Somebody could like come up and get me, like, but I didn't think anyone was gonna attack me, but it was just like I felt vulnerable because there was like a hole in my back. This might not make sense, but I felt very vulnerable, and it felt like there was claws like digging into my shoulder blades, like where if I had angel wings, where my wings would be, it felt like claws were clutched digging into me there. And that would happen when I was very anxious, and that's how I would visualize it in my mind. I'm like thinking about it now. Yeah, and it kind of helped me to put it in a visual like that. Like, it sort of, it just made what I was feeling make a little more sense in my brain, because I am a very creative person. But yeah, so that was getting really bad. So I stopped taking the Wellbutrin, and these feelings stayed. They did get better, actually, a little bit. I remember being able to, you know, I continued working. I still was stressed, but again, I was like, well, this is normal. Like, it's a new job. Like, you're allowed to be stressed. But, you know, then it wasn't a new job, and I kept working there. And I was able to get through things, but it just this, like, clawing, digging, nagging dread. It was dread. I was feeling a lot of dread, and it was like I was always tensed up waiting for something to happen, like a car crash, like how you're waiting for the impact. And I wasn't even sure what I was scared of. Like, I don't know what I was waiting for to happen. And that was really scary. And then it did get a little better. I remember whatever, a couple months went by and I was like fine, relatively. And then I wrote down just the word August in here because I remember just this past August, actually, maybe 2 Augusts ago. In August, I had the worst flare-up of my life. I don't know what triggered this. I really don't, because I wasn't on any medication at that point. I was off the Wellbutrin. I was doing relatively okay. And then I was starting to develop agoraphobia, is I think the direction I was headed in. And I'm glad that didn't happen, but it was awfully close. I, again, would have this deep creeping dread and these physical symptoms and all these like bad thoughts that I was just telling myself were true with no reason to believe they were true. Like, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like my boyfriend hates me. Like I'm the worst girlfriend. Like, he hates me. He doesn't want me here. Like, he's going to break up with me. And there was no reason for me to really think this. Like, nothing had changed in our relationship, but it was like this voice in my head was just telling me, and I knew it was correct. Like, I know this to be the truth. And that's scary, this like certainty of what you're telling yourself. And no matter how much you're like, well, no, it's not true because of this, and it's not true because of this, OCD does not listen to reason. And then, so my agoraphobia, I was still working, and the only places I would go were home and work, and I work just down the street from where I live, which is convenient. But I was feeling extremely stressed to go anywhere else. I didn't want to go see my friends. I didn't want to go out for dinner. Restaurants was a big no-no for me. And again, I'm not sure where this came from. But yeah, I would go on a date with my boyfriend and we'd go out to a restaurant. And the whole time, again, I was very aware of my back and my shoulders, and I would be very tensed up. And I was very aware of my surroundings. Like, I was watching all around, like things were too loud, there was too many lights, and I couldn't eat. There was multiple dates we went on during this period where we'd order our food. I'd be like bouncing my leg like crazy. I would take one bite of my food and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't eat anymore. Because, you know, anxiety tightens your stomach, and it didn't feel safe for me to like relax and eat. Biologically, that would be the reason. Like, you feel like something could attack you. It's not time to relax and eat yet. And my poor boyfriend is like, I don't really know what's going on. Like, everything's fine. So I'd take my food home with me. And that happened multiple times. And I was really dreading going out. I was really dreading driving. I did not drive for like months. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. So yeah, anytime I would go out with my friends, this like, it was like a cloud. It was like a water that would wash over me of dread. And I'd be fine, and all of a sudden it would hit me like a wave, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, and all those physical sensations would come back, like dizzy and nauseous, and my vision would black out. I'm like, I can't be here. Like, and the only way I could calm down is if I was in like a dark room alone at my house. Yeah, it would just come out of nowhere, this deep dread, and I would even ask myself, like, what are you afraid of is going to happen? Like, what do you think is going to happen? I don't think someone's going to come up and attack me. So I wasn't sure what I was so terrified of. And it just had such a hold over me. It was a horrible time in my life. And then with that came some really bad hypochondria. I became a really bad hypochondriac. And I think my brain, to kind of find a reasoning for why I was so like agoraphobic and scared to be anywhere, was mixed with these physical sensations, mainly the heart palpitations. I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack and die. And I'm opening my car door because it's hot in here. I thought I was gonna die of a heart attack, and I fully believe this. I have no medical issues as far as I'm aware, but I'd have these heart palpitations, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. Like, and I knew it as like a fact in my brain, and there was no arguing with my brain. I was like, this is going to happen. But the logic wasn't there, because in my head, I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack unless I get home right now. I can't be in this restaurant. I'm gonna have a heart attack in this restaurant. And I would drive home. I'd be panicking. I'd go sit in the dark room. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm safe. I'm not gonna have a heart attack. Like, the logic's not there. OCD doesn't listen to logic. And I was aware of this, but it didn't change the way I felt. I was just very controlled by these evil thoughts. It felt like an evil had taken over me. It felt like there was evil inside of me, and it was controlling me like a puppet. So that was a very big thing. I still went to work during this time, but every day I would get up and I'd go to work, and I work with children, and every day I was like, I'm going to have a heart attack in front of these children and it's going to traumatize them forever, but I have to come to work. There's nothing I can do. So every day I would just prepare. I would prepare to die that day, and I would just pray that I make it through the day and get home safely. Like, there is no danger. Like, everything is fine. But I was feeling like phantom chest pains, and I actually did end up going to the hospital. I went to the ER. I got my boyfriend to bring me, and yep, they did all the tests, and they were like, everything is fine. Like, this seems like it's a mental health thing. Like, there's nothing physically wrong with you. Like, if it gets worse, you can come back, but nothing was wrong with me. So that did give me a little bit of relief, but not enough to change how I was feeling, because like I said, like, logic doesn't really do anything. Sorry, I'm really noticing how oily my nose is. I hope it's not noticeable with the lighting. I promise it looks normal in real life. I hope. But yeah, it was preventing me from going out and doing things, because I was like, if I leave my house, I'm gonna die. It was like there was a certain like radar of areas I could go. Like, I could only go like 200 meters from my house before I was in like the danger zone. I was also really worried my car was going to explode. Not that it would break down, I was worried it was going to explode. So I didn't drive for like 3 months. And my poor boyfriend is like not really sure what's going on with me, and I live with him. I didn't tell anybody. A big thing I learned is that OCD really thrives on you feeling alone. It really, really thrives on you feeling alone, and like the guilt that comes with the way you're feeling. Because I felt ashamed. I felt a lot of shame for the way I was feeling, because I knew I was like crazy. Like, I was like, I feel crazy, like I can't tell anyone. And that's what my therapist taught me. Telling people is okay. And I remember the one time it was my friend's birthday, so we went out to a nice restaurant, and I was doing okay, and then it just hit me like a wave all of a sudden. And my friend was like, hey, are you okay? Because I was like sitting there like this, like shaking. And I took like a deep breath. It was so hard to do, and I was like, yeah, I'm just feeling a lot of anxiety right now. Like, sometimes it just hits me, even though there's no reason to feel anxious. And just saying those words brought so much relief that I didn't even know I needed. Like, just saying it out loud like kills a bit of that demon, like the one that tells you no one can help you and no one's coming to save you. And my friends were fantastic. They were like, oh, that's okay, like, we're gonna go back soon anyways, like, don't worry. And it wasn't even like that anything physically changed, but I felt the atmosphere like just like soften. And I still felt that anxiety. I still needed to get back to the house and like breathe in a dark room. But like, telling people really does make a difference. Like, you are not crazy, and if you're around the right people, no one's gonna make you feel like shit if you're not feeling good. Like, most people in your life would say, oh, I'm so sorry, what can I do to help? Yeah, so just being open and telling people really gave me like a power over myself and a power over my brain. Yeah, so then I went to Costa Rica for Christmas, which was lots of fun, but it's really unfortunate when I look back, because I'm very scared of planes. And I was really excited for this trip, because I was like, I need to get away. Like, I've been going through such a hard time. Like, I feel like I felt like I was in a living nightmare. I felt like I could not escape this nightmare that I was living in. And I was like, I'm gonna go to Costa Rica. I'm gonna have a beautiful time. Like, I'm gonna relax. It's gonna be a getaway with my boyfriend and his family. And we did that. I was very anxious on the plane. When the plane took off, I was like, my lungs are gonna collapse. Like, I feel it happening. No one's gonna save me, because they're not gonna land the plane for me, so I'm gonna die. My lungs are gonna collapse on this plane and I'll die. And I would always, like, when I was prepared to die, I would just like accept it. Like, I would like sit there and like wait to die, because I knew nothing else would save me. It was horrible, horrible feeling. And I did have a great time in Costa Rica, but it's really unfortunate when I think back, because I could have had such a better time, because the first, probably the first 3 days, oh my gosh, far away from home, in a new environment, very, very distressing for me. We were in like a villa. It wasn't a hotel, it was a villa. So I would shake and shake, and I'd be so anxious. I didn't want to leave the villa. I didn't want to go on any excursions. I didn't want to go to the beach. I didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to lie in the bed and stay there, because I was so scared to go out. and my boyfriend's family didn't really know what was going on with me. I don't think it was very noticeable to them. Like, I'm pretty good because I'm a natural people pleaser. Like, I don't think people knew I was anxious other than my boyfriend, because he was the one I told. But very, very anxious. I felt incapable of leaving the villa because something bad was going to happen. And again, I don't even know what that bad thing was, just that I'm gonna have a heart attack if I leave. If I leave the villa, I'm gonna have a heart attack and die. And very scary, and I feel like it kind of ruined my trip in a sense. I still had a great time after those 3 days. Again, it was just the first 3 days I was having a really hard time, and unfortunately I drank a lot of alcohol, and that did help. I was able to relax and loosen, and I went down to the beach and I went to restaurants, and I was like, okay, I was able to do it, but only with alcohol. So don't use that. I mean, you can use it in social situations, but like, don't rely on that. But you know, it was kind of the only thing I could rely on at the time when we were there for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I keep scratching my neck. I have very sensitive skin. Yes, so I was drinking, and that would give me the relief I needed. And then on the third day, I started to feel a little better. I was like, hey, nothing bad has happened yet. And I would push myself to go. And the one thing that was really nice is that, well, I remember the one day my boyfriend and his mom were going to go down to the beach early in the morning. They were like, do you want to come? And I was like, okay, because I love the beach. I feel very safe and comforted by like water and just nature, but specifically water. I love the beach. So I was like, okay, I'll go down. And I was like almost in tears because I was so scared to go down. And like, thinking of these things now, it's like unfathomable. I can't believe that's how I lived my life, and that was my reality, because I'm so different now. And this was only like probably like 6 months ago, or less. But I went down to the beach, and I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm gonna have a heart attack and die. Like, I'm just accepting it. And I went in the water, and I felt, again, just relief being like in the water. Like, nature helps so much with anxiety and mental health. And I was in the water, and I just like breathed, and I felt okay. So, you know, it would have its ups and downs throughout the day. I still had a great time. And there was times like that, like at the beach, I felt safe. My brain just picked certain places where you're safe, and there's other places where you're not. So yeah, after those first 3 days, I did get better, and I had a better time. The alcohol helped, but I definitely still had this lingering, like this monkey on my back that would like whisper in my ear. But yeah, so we flew back. I was more nervous on the way back, the plane, than the way here. And in the airport, I like had a mental breakdown. I like cried. It was a very small airport. It was very hot. There was a lot of people, and being around too many people, being in crowds, was a big stressor for me. Like with the agoraphobia kind of thing, like there was way too many people around me. So my boyfriend just had to like sit me down in a chair, and I just like cried silently like this. And you know what? Like, it sounds kind of silly, but like crying does help. Like, when you're feeling all this pent up emotion, having the release, it is a release to cry. And that really just, it did, what is the word I'm thinking of? It got me to a solid place, at least. Like, I was able to regroup a little bit. Like, I had let go. The pain and the stress was still there, but I had regrouped a little bit. I released that emotion I needed to get out. So yeah, we went on the plane, and again, thought my lungs were gonna collapse. They didn't, because nothing is physically wrong with me. And then I got back to Canada, where I live. And unfortunately, you think I'd be better now that I was back home, because I was so attached to my house and didn't want to ever leave my house. But a week after, I didn't go back to work. I took a week off after I had returned from my vacation. I didn't tell them that. But I was in such a dark place. And it could have been because, you know, I was in paradise and then I came back. Like, everybody feels kind of that feeling. But I was just, like, unable to do anything. I sat on one spot on the couch and, like, didn't move. And I just couldn't do anything. Like, I couldn't sleep. And I've never had trouble sleeping before. Like, I fall asleep pretty much on demand. Like, when I want to, I will. On command, sorry, not demand. But I was just lying in bed in the dark, listening to my heartbeat. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And that was probably like a week. And I was discussing medication with my boyfriend at that point, going on something. So I was like, I'm not able to live my life. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I can't do anything. And it was just a nightmare. So now I'm going to talk about some of the things I did during that time that helped me and gave me a little bit of comfort. I drank a lot of tea. Some of these are littler and some are bigger. But yes, it really soothed me. to drink chamomile tea and green tea and peppermint tea. I drink a lot of those things. I think it's really important to make a list. I love making lists of things that comfort you, as little as they are or big. So I would drink a lot of tea. I would have like favorite blankets. I would have a stuffed animal. Someone else brought this up to me on TikTok of all places, but if I had to go on a drive somewhere, I would put a stuffed animal in my car with me. And then if I was really stressed, I would hug the stuffed animal. Like something that's gonna bring you comfort, especially like a childlike comfort is what I found. Like I felt very alone and scared. I felt very childish. I felt like a child. I wanted someone to protect me and someone to keep me safe. And that's been a big thing in my life. I've just always felt that feeling. Like I want someone to protect me and look after me. I don't feel safe. One of the biggest problems with my OCD, where it comes from, is not feeling safe. I've never felt safe. And I have always been, everything was fine, but I did not feel safe. Emotionally and physically sometimes. So finding the things that bring you comfort and make you feel safe, as little as they are, that really helped. I drank a lot of tea. I had stuffed animals. I used a lot of candles. I had a lot of baths. But you know, those were all temporary, unfortunately. Some things I did find that helped really well is EMT tapping was one. I loved this. It was so good. You can search them up on YouTube and on TikTok. These helped so much in the moment if you're having a panic attack, because I had a lot of panic attacks. The one that I really liked, I'll show it to you. Unfortunately, I feel like it lost a bit of its power over time the more I used it, but it was to tap right here for however many beats you want to do. I think I did like 20 for each one, but here. Top of your head. Somebody's here. Okay, unfortunately I just ended my whole video. I did not mean to do that, but this is part 2. EMT tapping here, side of your eyebrow, between your eyebrows, under your eye or your cheek, under your nose, under your lip, both collarbones, and under one armpit. And I would do this like 3 times in a row. It's something to do with like your senses, like it regulates your heartbeat, regulates your nervous system. Made a massive difference. It really helped calm me down. There's also lots of visualization tactics you can use online. I would try to visualize my OCD as a separate being and not myself. I would even just think of it as like an angry ball, like an angry black staticky ball is how I saw it. What else? I watched a lot of meditation on YouTube, somatic meditation specifically, because I felt so much in my body. So much of my anxiety had transferred to my body because my brain didn't know how to handle it anymore. So it went to my body, I think is what happened. So yeah, I would do a lot of meditation. There was one, I can't remember what it was called. I will put it in the bio if I remember. But it was this technique of meditation where you relax seated or lying down and you squeeze every part of your body one at a time and then release. And it's supposed to relax your whole body. So you start with your toes and squeeze your toes really tight for 5 seconds or whatever, and then let go. And then you go up to your calves and you go up your whole body until you've had sort of a release. And every time I would do those meditations, I would end up crying. And it was because I held so much of my emotion in my body. So you never know if that could be you as well, because I did not expect myself to just burst into tears after. I know people say that with yoga too. I didn't do any yoga personally, but I'm sure it's kind of a similar thing. What else? I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of gratitude. But the biggest thing, one second. Oh yeah, one more thing. At sleep time, when I would go to sleep, I would end up crying at night. I would cry almost every single night. This is all within like the first week I was back from my trip. I would lie in bed and I'd just end up crying because I was just so exhausted physically and emotionally from dealing with this battle in my mind constantly. So I'd cry. And again, that release, I went to sleep after, because crying really is good for your body. It regulates. That's what I was looking for earlier. Just regulates everything. I took magnesium. I took zinc and lots of other little gummies that you can find at any like Shoppers Drug Mart. I listened to, I think it was like binaural beats. but it was like the singing bowls. Those are also on YouTube. I can link some really good people in the bio, and those helped me so much to, again, regulate my nervous system and just put myself in like a meditative state to fall asleep. So I listened to those like singing bowls every single night to fall asleep for a while. It was like my lullaby. Another thing I just randomly wrote down here, but reassurance and checking was also one of my biggest things with OCD. I really constantly would need reassurance. I'd ask the same thing over and over and over and over again, and I'd get the same answer, and I would just keep needing confirmation that was the thing. And then a lot of checking. I do a lot of snapping, is a compulsion of mine. If something's stressing me out, I'll snap on both hands to make myself feel better in the moment. I would do a lot of body checking, like check to make sure my skin is okay. Okay, there's no weird colors on my skin. Okay, my heartbeat's normal. Okay. I would try not to blink for as long as possible to see if my vision would get dark. Like, just things that seem silly in retrospect because I'm not there anymore mentally, but it's such a real thing, all of these. It just felt like a nightmare, honestly. And to the final thing that did help me the most was Lexapro. So this is not a sponsored video by any means. Medication is not for everyone, but it really was my last resort. I couldn't live. I couldn't do anything. So I went on Lexapro. It's also known as escitalopram. One of those names, but Lexapro. And it has changed my life. I've been on it for about 3 months now, going on 4. No, it's been 4 months. And I am a changed woman. I have my life back. I honestly felt its effects probably 2 weeks in. I didn't have any terrible side effects when starting it. It's different for everyone. It is an easier drug to get used to in your body, from what I've heard and what the doctor has told me. But yeah, I didn't have any crazy reaction, because I know some antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication will give you, like, you'll feel worse before you get better, right? I was already at my worst. I think that's what it was. So yeah, after about 2 weeks, my mind, the chatter in my mind, it just sort of relaxed. And about after a full month, I'd say, I was in control of my life again. I felt capable to do things. Like, I would go out. I got more comfortable driving. I can drive totally normally now. Like, the car is not going to explode. And my health anxiety has decreased. I still have it. I still have all of the things I had, but it's just the medication has made it much easier for me. When I have a flare-up, I can handle it and move through it much quicker than I would have been able to, where before I just loop it and loop it and loop it and I wouldn't let it go. I can handle it. I can move through it and I can get past it. And just those stressful thought loops and compulsions, like, they're not as aggressive. They're not as controlling over your mind. Like, they don't paralyze you anymore. And again, that's my experience. Could be different for other people, but yeah. So I'm on 10 milligrams of Lexapro, and I've been on it for 4 months. And honestly, yeah, I feel capable of doing anything now. And a big thing I found from it too, I was just saying this to my boyfriend, is that, like, even if I'm worried about something bad's gonna happen, like, I don't want to go to, like, this test or this exam, or I don't want to go to this thing I don't want to go to, whatever. I'm like, but what is the worst that could happen? Like, I know I'll survive. I know I'll be okay. Like, I'm not gonna die. Like, everything will be fine, though. Like, the worst case scenario, I fail a test. Worst case scenario, these people don't like me. Nobody's gonna kill you. Like, you're not in physical danger. And I always felt like I was in physical danger. I was always in fight or flight. I could not escape fight or flight. So yeah, like, I can handle stressful situations, and I know everything's gonna be fine because I'm the one in control of my body, and I'm the one who makes these decisions, and I keep myself safe. I think it's really important to have a relationship with yourself. I felt like there was someone else, this monster, this evil, controlling me, and that's not true. Well, I mean, the OCD is evil, but, like, you are the only one who is in control of you, and you control how you feel and what's happening. And it's so much easier said than done. Again, I did need medication to come to this realization, but, like, it's possible. It's all within you. It is such a scary, detrimental illness, and it's so unfortunate. It has such a bad rep, and it's represented so terribly. It's very frustrating to me. I talk about it on my TikTok sometimes. I'll put that in the bio too if anyone is interested. I also just do random stuff on there. But yeah, I guess that's all. I hope this was helpful to someone. Just knowing you're not alone and you're not crazy made such a big difference to me. And there's so many resources that are there to help you. People in your life will care for you if they are good people. And if they don't care for you, you need to find different people, because people should be taking you seriously with shit like this. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you watched this whole thing, I appreciate it. And that is all for today.